Good afternoon, preppers. I have to say this as clear as day. Our economy is going to crash. And I'm going to, through this video, show exactly why, so stick through it. But right now, a big part of this is simply arguing about the debt limit. And let's define that. From the Department of the Treasury, the debt limit is the total amount of money that the U.S. government is authorized to borrow to meet its existing legal obligations. Social Security, Medicare, military salaries, interest on national debt, tax refunds, etc. And it's important we define that to understand what's going on, because in short, the government has bills to pay. Of course they do. And in times past, it's been quite a while, mind you, the government brought in enough money to pay those bills each and every month. But honestly, those days are long gone. Bills now exceed the monthly paycheck. They have a certain amount of money coming in, of course, but the money going out it's huge. It's catastrophic. And like you and I, the government has, so to speak, credit limits. And the banks will only allow us to borrow so much. In their case, they can only print off so much according to their own laws and everything set forth that they deemed allowable. Okay, so it's like this. You and I have a credit limit. Let's say we have $5,000 on a credit card. We're not doing so well financially this month, and we need to buy groceries on the credit card, and we've already used up most of it. We can call the bank and say, "Hey, bank, can you raise our credit limit?" They're probably going to say no. They would say yes if you had more money coming in or if you actually paid off some other bills, but when you're actually in those desperate situations, the bank is not there for you. We've talked about this in the past. In reality, when it comes to the government, they don't ask for more credit. They simply say, let's print out more money. In essence, right now we can print out this much. That's the debt ceiling. So, let's raise this up a little bit so we can print out more money. In reality, they authorize themselves to print more. And in reality, in a lot of ways, they have no choice. Because if we don't print more money, we're going to default. And if we decide we're not going to go ahead and pay back these debts or we'll go ahead and do this, our economy flat out will crash at that point and we'll have no choice. But those days are coming. But in the meantime, we actually have to look at some certain things the Treasury is saying about this. Failing to increase the debt limit would have catastrophic consequences on the economy. The government would default on its legal obligations, and it has never happened before in American history. It would be a financial crisis like you've never seen before, by the way, threaten jobs, savings of Americans, and it would actually put us into a deep economic hole and more, just as we're recovering from the recent recession. Oh yeah, the recession that's taking place now is not recent. And look, Congress has always acted when called upon to raise the debt limit. Oh, let's go ahead and just print more money. And that's what's happening now. Well, kinda. Congress has always approved this. But the problem is, when do we say enough is enough? Instead of actually having this monumental spending, this spending that far exceeds our input, how about we actually do some cuts instead of simply just raising the debt ceiling? Because if you take a look at this chart, going back to 1980, look way back then and how little money we actually had to worry about. And you'll see that we have all these little squares, these pop up. And these squares are showing you every time they raise the debt ceiling. There it is right there. Goes up and up and up. But the problem, this is not a linear line going through this graph. It is exponential. It's exponential, which shows that basically it can only peak out so high. The problem is, look, this graph only comes out to be what? Maybe 2015. But what about now? Are things still the same? Because understand this whole thing is a snowball effect. Borrowing money, then we need to pay it back, plus interest, mind you. So it's actually borrowing even more money. So you cut back on spending to pay it back? No, that's what you and I might do. But no, they actually increase spending exponentially, especially now. Look at this. Look at that exponential curve drawn out on this graph. Notice that we're looking at 2021, et cetera. It is just skyrocketing. And that's what we're seeing today. And in 2020, of course, a lot of this came from the pandemic. Of course it did. But that's not what's happening now, even today. And just like if you continuously keep spending on your credit cards, even go over the limit, the credit cards are going to start calling. And back at this page, look, in 2023, Secretary Yellen sends debt limit letter to Congress, sends debt limit letter to Congress, sends debt limit letter to Congress. Over and over and over again. It's kind of like, you are late on your bills and the credit card companies are calling you constantly saying, when are you going to start paying me back? And we're at the right at the point of what? Bankruptcy? What options does the government have? Honestly, in reality, right now in the short term, raising the debt limit again is the only option, because if not, it's going to completely crash the economy. Right now it will. The problem is every time they raise that debt ceiling, and spend more money, raise the ceiling, spend more money, it devalues our money, and we see things called inflation. That's exactly why our inflation is so high right now. That's why everything's so expensive and people don't have the money to buy even some of the basic necessities. But here's the crap about this whole situation. The government knows this. They know this fully well. And we're seeing some people in government are trying to fix things. I know there's a lot of people out there saying, no, both parties are bad. There's definitely bad people in both parties. But in this whole situation, they're told they have to get it under control by June. The Republicans are arguing, fine, raise the debt limit. Do it again. That's fine. Do it again. But as an agreement, we have to cut spending. What are the Democrats saying? Dem leadership, GOP approach impasse or refusal to negotiate cuts in exchange for the debt limit boost. So some Republicans are pushing, that's fine. We just need to do some cuts. Democrats, however, are digging in on their refusal to negotiate with the Republicans on cutting spending in exchange for a $31.4 trillion debt limit increase. Look at this line right here. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer of New York said there is simply nothing to negotiate, despite some fellow Democrats are saying, what's going on here? That's not very smart at all. Schumer says brinkmanship, hostage takeover, defaulting on the debt should be off the table. Both parties should work together to ensure we continue to pay our debts on time. That's not what the Republicans are saying. We'll go ahead and do the debt ceiling increase, but we have to have cuts first. And he doesn't care about that at all. I am not saying the Republicans are all gold in this. Both parties are spending like there's no tomorrow. Even this last, $1.8 trillion bill, whatever it went through, was actually signed over by a lot of Republicans as well. Both parties are at fault for this, and it has to be put under control. Because understand, the United States right now, we're at the brink of bankruptcy. The two ruling parties can't get together to find a solution. I think in both parties, you're going to find some people who are trying to get to a solution, but I find the Democrats, in my opinion, are the ones, in the majority, are basically saying, screw the Republicans, we're going to go ahead and simply just raise the debt ceiling and not worry about any cuts. And it's simple as this, because they want to, not all Democrats, but the far progressives want to crash the economy. That's what they want. They want, that way, desperation and fear, leading to more totalitarian control over you and me. That's what this is all about.